Okay, you guys have been loving these videos where I show you how to make your lives a little bit easier in the kitchen. So I thought today that I would show you 3 more dinner recipes, but they're all recipes that take 30 minutes or less. Hey guys, I'm Candace the EdgyVeg. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. Here I show you how to make easy, delicious vegan recipes that are quick, delicious, easy, take no time at all. And then also we do some food magic where I show you how to take everyday plant-based ingredients and turn them into culinary masterpieces. Yeah, so let's get cooking. All right, so the 3 recipes I'm going to show you how to make today. The first one is a creamy mushroom pasta. You guys know that I love pasta. We have it multiple times a week around here. You also know that I love mushrooms. They are my favorite, I guess, food, we can call it. I love them. They are earthy, they're delicious. They really just make the best food ever, and you're gonna see that a couple times today. The second recipe is going to be a sausage gnocchi soup. Again, really like hearty, warming, lots of greens. And then the third recipe is a spinach and mushroom pizza using my favorite cheese for pizza ever, and you'll have to stick around to see what that is. All right, so recipe number 1 is a creamy mushroom pasta. This is one of my tried and true recipes. It's been on my blog for years. I love it. I make it very regularly. You actually don't have to make a lot of substitutions for this in terms of like finding like a heavy cream to make a creamy pasta. We're actually gonna totally like fake that cream. I mean, not really fake it. We're just making it creamy in a different way, but we're going to do it with soy milk and flour as opposed to using like a cashew cream or a soy cream or some sort of store-bought alternative. Filling that with like greens and mushrooms, and yeah, it all comes together in like 20 minutes or so. A lot of your favorite recipes, let's say you're like a new vegan and you have these go-to tried and true recipes, a lot of them can be made vegan very, very easily. A lot of the ingredients that are often used are already vegan. For this pasta, you can just use whatever pasta you want. Most dried pasta that you buy at the store is vegan. A lot of people think that there's eggs in them. There really isn't in dried pastas unless you're getting something that's specifically like an egg pasta, or like if it's fresh pasta a lot of the time, if you get that from like the refrigerated section or something like a Pusatteri's or like a Italy, sometimes we'll have pasta with egg in it if it's fresh. For protein in this dish, we have a lot from the soy milk that we're using to make the vegan version of a cream, but then we also have some peas here as well. The first thing we're going to do is salt and boil our water. You wanna make sure that your water for pasta tastes like the ocean. So we're going to use a generous amount of salt. All right, so I like to use anywhere between like a teaspoon and a half to a tablespoon of salt for my water. It also cuts down on the salt that I'm going to have to use later. This seems like a lot of salt to people, but again, you want it to taste like the ocean. Find yourself a stir fry pan or one of these deep pasta pans. A lot of the time they're just called stir fry pans, but I like to make all of my pasta in these types of pans. We're gonna heat up about 1/4 cup of olive oil over high heat. You can also use butter for this if you want, or a combination of the two, but you wanna make sure it's nice and high before you add your mushrooms. When your pan is nice and hot, you can add in your mushrooms. We're going to use quite a bit because they do shrink down to nothing. You can use whatever mushrooms you want. Creminis are really cheap, so I tend to use those a lot. If you do want to use like a combination of like mixed mushrooms that are, you know, shiitake or whatever kind of more gourmet mushroom, you can always buy them dried. They're going to be a lot cheaper if you buy them dried, and then you can just rehydrate them and use them as well. I do have a lot of those on hand, but for general like meals during the week, I just use cremini mushrooms. They're cheap. So if you've been here a while, you would notice that I am not cooking these mushrooms like properly. Usually I would say don't crowd your pan. Your mushrooms are never going to brown. For something like this, I want that liquid that the mushroom is releasing because I want it in my sauce. So I don't really care as much about it. So I'm just cooking it for a little bit longer than I would normally. They will brown eventually, and all of that sauce is going to get like, all that liquid is going to get reabsorbed, and it's going to be like really nice and flavorful. Plus, for the sake of time, during the week, you're gonna be less concerned about like doing things really properly and like cooking the mushrooms and moving them to the side and then adding the rest of the mushrooms until they're perfectly browned. So I'm just keeping this short and simple for you. When your mushrooms start to brown, you can add some onion or shallot, and then we're also going to add some garlic. Cook that for another 3 minutes until the onion is translucent. Now I'm going to sprinkle about 3 tablespoons of flour over the mushrooms and just make sure that they're completely coated. Cook that for about like a minute or so just to cook the flour flavor out, and then we're going to add our soy milk. You can also use almond milk or oat milk or whatever you want. I just prefer soy. Then you want to add 3 tablespoons of flour. Add about 1 cup of soy milk and then just mix that all together until it gets nice and thick. You want to make sure that there's no clumps. All right, when that starts to bubble, you can slowly stir in the rest of your soy milk. It'll take about 3 or so cups until you get the perfect sauce. Stir in the rest of your soy milk. And definitely make sure to scrape the bottom to get all that flavor off the bottom of the pan. You want to bring that till just a boil. You're going to need that to boil to thicken it up. If you've been here for a while, you know that I prefer to cook with soy milk. It's my favorite milk to bake and cook with. For this specifically, or anything really earthy like mushrooms, I like it even more because soy milk kind of has like a nuttier flavor to it and it complements the mushrooms really nicely. But it also has a super high protein content and it has fat in it naturally. So not only is it going to give you that mouthfeel, really coat the mouth to let that flavor transfer and like really register, but it also has its own unique flavor that gets transferred into the sauce. Like mushrooms are very earthy, so I really prefer it with that. If you do something like this with almond milk, it might be a little bit too thin. Oat milk would definitely work. It cooks pretty well as well. I don't know. People have a thing with soy milk and I love it for almost everything. Drain your pasta when it's al dente. I always like to go in and save pasta water. You guys know this as well. It's really great for creating a nice thick sauce, but also if you keep it in your fridge, it helps when you reheat leftover pasta. It makes it so it doesn't get like overly gummy. It makes it really quick and easy and seamless. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of nutritional yeast. If you have vegan parm that you want to use, you can use that as well. I find that the nutritional yeast just adds like a really nice flavor as well. Plus it's a nutrition powerhouse, so that's always nice. And then I'm going to add in some peas. Again, completely optional. I like the addition of the greens and also the protein that they provide. Add in some peas and then toss your pasta in there. Now we're going to continue to cook the pasta in the sauce. If you find that it is too thick, add some of that pasta water. At this point, you can also season it with salt and pepper if you want to. I find a lot of the time with this, there is enough salt already from the pasta water, so I don't need to add any, but you do you for what your taste buds want. I always like to add some chopped parsley as well. If you just have dried, you can just add in some dried parsley or leave it out completely. All right, there you go. And this took in total about 20 minutes. Okay, let's give this a try. Oh my God. There is a reason why this is one of my favorite recipes. It's such a good go-to. Super simple, super quick. You definitely should make this. I could really just sit here and eat this all day. But we have more recipes to make, so let's make our gnocchi soup. Okay, let's make the gnocchi sausage soup. This recipe is very typical gnocchi soup. We're gonna do some sausage, we're gonna do some gnocchi. In terms of the vegan ingredients, just any vegan sausage that is your favorite, you can use that. For the creamy bit, because these soups are usually quite creamy, I'm just going to use coconut milk. I mean, you can use a store-bought like cooking creamer, cashew cream, any sort of like cream substitute that you love. I just find coconut milk, it's cheap, it's accessible. I like the flavor of it in this soup. And then for the broth, so usually it's like a chicken broth, I'm just going to use the Better Than Bouillon. This is like a no chicken, so it's like chicken flavored broth that doesn't have any chicken in it. For the gnocchi, a lot of gnocchi is actually accidentally vegan. If it's dried, same thing with the pasta like we talked about before. So just read the ingredients, but most of it doesn't have eggs in it and you can just use it. Start by heating up some olive oil. Add some onions. You can do a typical mirepoix here if you want with, you know, the celery, the carrots. But if we're just trying to do this under 30 minutes, I'm trying to limit your chop time, so we are just going to do some onions. Cook these for about 3 minutes, and then we're going to add some garlic. When your onions are translucent, add your garlic. Garlic in everything all the time. Add your veggie sausage and just cook that until it's heated through, so about 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to add some of that bouillon and then 4 cups of water. Bring that to a boil. Add in your gnocchi and then a few handfuls of spinach. Then you just want to cook this until the gnocchi comes to the top and the spinach is wilted. All right, so when your gnocchi is floating at the top, you can add whatever cream substitute you are using. I'm just using coconut milk. You just want to stir that in. After you've stirred it in, just bring it to temperature, so you want it to be nice and warm. And then you can take it off the heat, season with salt and pepper, and serve. All right, so I did decide to add some carrots. I feel like I oversimplified it a little too much. It takes like less than a minute to cut a carrot anyway. I like the color in there, so I did add carrots. But again, all of these recipes can just be bases. You can add whatever you want into these soups or pastas or whatever you have in your fridge. This looks really good. I like to serve this with a little bit of bacon bits on top too. I don't know why. It just adds a nice crunchy saltiness. And then of course you need a little bit of parsley. You totally have to try this gnocchi and sausage soup. All right, let's give this a try. It smells so good. Wow, that is so good. It took like what, 10 minutes? Definitely want to make this. It's hearty. It's easy to make, it's super filling. You're gonna love it. Perfect. All right, so this last recipe is a spinach and mushroom pizza. It's super easy. We're going to make it on naan, so you don't even have to make the crust for it. So a lot of store-bought naan is made without eggs or dairy. So definitely, again, read the ingredients on your ingredient list, but most of them are completely vegan friendly, which is great. For the cheese, we are going to use my homemade pimento cheese, which is right here. I love the way that this is on pizza. It just like, it's the most to like cow's cheese consistency and the way that it melts that I've tried yet. The recipe for this is on my blog, so you can find that there if you want. Obviously this is also good as like a sandwich spread and as a hot dip, but on pizza it's so good. So let's make some pizza. All right, so you want to start by spreading the pimento cheese onto each one. About 3 tablespoons. You want it to be not a super heavy layer, but also like don't be stingy. It's supposed to be a pizza with cheese on it. So like a good amount. I'd say like 3 tablespoons, 3-4 tablespoons is pretty good, depending on the size of naan that you have. Then going to go in with our mushrooms and our spinach. I mean, you can really top these pizzas with whatever, but today we're doing mushrooms and spinach. Also, you can use fresh spinach or frozen spinach. Just make sure that you drain the frozen spinach really, really well, or else you're going to have a soggy pizza, and that's not what anybody wants. Then you can just bake it in the oven at 425 for about 10 minutes. All right, so after you have baked this for like 5 to 10 minutes, you can obviously have it as is, or you can add some honey. This is Mindful Bee honey. It's vegan honey and it's made from, I believe, apples. So I like to add some sort of like vegan honey to my pizza. I just love the combination of like flavors. Or you can add something like a truffle oil if you want to, or you can just leave it as it is. Okay, this looks so good. It's all of my favorite flavor combinations. So good. The sweetness at the end just rounds everything, brings it all together. Obviously, you can make a naan pizza with any combination of toppings that you want. I just love some spinach, some mushrooms, a little bit of vegan honey. Perfect. All right, so I mean, in under 30 minutes, because dressing the pizza takes 30 seconds, you can make quite a few pizzas. So if you're making pizza for the family, you know, throw them all in at the same time or one at a time, depending on how big your oven is. Even if you have to make like 6, still gonna be under 30 minutes. All right, guys, there you have it. 3 easy, delicious recipes that are minimal on ingredients, minimal on time, but huge on flavor. Let me know which one is your favorite in the comment section down below. If you have a 30-minute recipe that you love, I would also love to know what it is, hear about it. You can leave that down there. And if you have any recipe requests, you can put that down there as well. And as always, make sure that you check out my library of other videos so that you can get culinarily inspired. So you can get inspired to, you know, play in your kitchen a little bit more. All right, see you next time. Bye.